Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another book.
Always.
All right. So today we're in Valaris,
Ooh, good choice.
months after a war that basically reshaped their whole world. We're going to be focusing on Farah,
Right.
High Lady of the Night Court,
Yep.
and her sisters, using A Court of Frost and Starlight as our guide
Okay.
by Sarah J. Maas. I was thinking about this book, and it really captures that feeling of rebuilding after something so huge,
Mm-hmm.
but also that undercurrent of tension. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everywhere, like
Yeah.
personal and then across Valaris as a whole.
It's so interesting because Maz doesn't shy away from how deeply the war impacted everyone. You see every character, even Valaris itself, grappling with the trauma
Yeah.
and these societal shifts, and then, of course, their own personal struggles.
Right. And so let's unpack Farah a little bit. She's trying to enjoy this hard-won peace with Rysand,
Yeah.
but she's haunted by what happened under the Spring Court. It's like a constant push and pull between the present and all those scars of the past.
And it's not just emotional scars either.
Right.
Her phase cycle is so intense now, almost unbearably so. It really makes you think about the price of power, right?
Yeah.
The sacrifices that come with being High Lady and having this amplified Fae nature.
It's like her body is still trying to catch up to the immense power she now wields.
Yeah, definitely.
And of course, there's Rysand, fiercely protective,
Yeah.
especially given how much resentment Fair still feels towards Tamlin.
I think that highlights the struggle a lot of couples who have experienced trauma face, right? He wants to shield her, but could that stifle her healing process?
Right.
How do you balance protecting someone you love with giving them the space they need to process their own pain?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
And it's not just Fairy dealing with the aftermath of the war.
No, absolutely not.
Nesta's turning to some pretty self-destructive habits. Drinking, gambling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Classic avoidance.
Right.
Nesta carries a lot of guilt over her perceived role in Elaine's capture and her father's death. And instead of facing those emotions, she's trying to numb the pain,
Yeah.
pushing everyone away while she does it.
Then there's Elaine, seemingly the quiet one,
Yeah.
finding comfort in her garden.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, I wonder if it's more of a coping mechanism than genuine peace.
It could be.
Yeah.
I mean, her withdrawal and avoiding her seer abilities. Maybe she's scared of what she might see or feel. You know, maybe gardening is a way for her to control her environment,
Right.
creating a little pocket of order in a world that feels very chaotic right now.
It's interesting how these three sisters are reacting so differently to the war.
Yeah,
It's just that there's no right way to heal.
absolutely. Each sister embodies a facet of trauma response.
Right.
Fair trying to find balance.
Right.
Nesta wants to forget.
Yeah.
And Elaine's retreating into a very controlled space.
And the war's impact goes even beyond the sisters, right? Even the seemingly unshakable inner circle. Mora is carrying so much. That complicated family.
Yeah.
Her relationship with her father.
And all that past trauma is definitely shaping her present. Her fear of vulnerability, her avoiding deeper connections,
Right.
all points back to how much she's been hurt.
Yeah.
Makes you think about how ingrained those early experiences can be.
Then you have Amren, all sharp wit, pragmatism.
Yeah.
But she reveals a softer side, especially towards Mesta.
It is surprising. You wouldn't think Amren, of all people, would show tenderness.
Right.
But maybe she sees herself in Nesta a little bit, like a reflection of her own struggles.
Yeah. So much has changed.
Mm.
Everyone's internal world has been reshuffled.
Big up.
And then there's the Illyrian warriors. There's a lot of tension brewing there.
Well, for sure.
They're not happy with Rysand for sending them to war. And this resistance to change
Yeah.
could be really explosive.
Yeah, that unrest shows how fragile peace really is. Winning the war doesn't just erase old anxieties or grudges.
Right.
The Illyrians are clinging to tradition, maybe out of fear of what this new world means for them.
Meanwhile, Fair's trying to figure out this whole High Lady thing.
Yeah.
Public audiences, mountains of paperwork. But it's her discovery of the artist's charity that really seems to spark something in her.
It's not just rebuilding the city. It's about restoring its soul.
Yeah.
Remember how much comfort Fair found in art when she was a captive under the Spring Court, this art school. It's her way of extending that to others, recognizing the power of art to heal and express what words can't.
It's like she's creating a haven for the creative spirit,
Yeah.
A place where the trauma of war can become something beautiful.
Exactly. And it speaks to that basic human need for connection,
Yeah.
finding solace and meaning, especially after immense suffering.
Right, and this whole idea of healing kind of permeates the entire book.
Oh, yeah.
Every character is grappling with their past, trying to move on.
It's a good reminder that healing isn't a straight line.
No.
It's twists and turns, setbacks,
Yeah.
breakthroughs.
Right, like with Fair's panic attacks, even though she's surrounded by love and support.
Yeah,
That trauma from her captivity is still surfacing.
absolutely.
It emphasizes that even when peace comes, war's wounds take a long time to mend.
It takes time, patience, and a willingness to face those really difficult emotions.
Right.
There's no quick fix, no magic solution. It's a process, and sometimes a messy one.
And what's interesting is how Maz uses art as this recurring motif for healing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's in the art school, in the weaver's tapestry. It's like art becomes a language of its own, expressing what words can't.
Right, a tangible manifestation of hope.
Yeah.
A way to create something beautiful and meaningful out of the pain and chaos.
Something else I found interesting was the portrayal of Illyrian culture. Maz doesn't shy away from showing its, darker side.
Right.
Like the sexism, the casual violence, the rigid traditions holding everyone back.
It's very different from Valaris.
Yeah.
It shows that clash between tradition and progress, and the challenges of challenging those deep-seated patriarchal norms.
And it puts Cassian in a tough spot.
Oh.
Torn between loyalty to Rysand, his desire to modernize those Illyrian traditions, and then responsibility to his people.
It really raises those questions about the role of tradition and identity,
Yeah.
and the potential for change within these seemingly inflexible systems. Makes you think about how complex social progress is, and the courage it takes to challenge the status quo.
It's not just about physical strength, right?
No.
The book highlights mental and emotional resilience. You see it with Nesta's forced training with Cassian.
Oh, absolutely. For Nesta, this training's like a crucible. It's not about fighting. It's about confronting those deep fears and insecurities.
Right.
She has to confront her self-destructive behaviors and tap into that strength she doesn't even know she has.
And while A Court of Frost and Starlight doesn't fully resolve Nesta's journey, it's like a turning point.
Yes, totally.
You see the cracks in her armor,
Mhm.
those little glimmers of hope.
Yeah.
Maybe she's finding her way back.
It reminds us that healing is ongoing, and sometimes the hardest battles are fought within.
Right.
Facing those demons, challenging those self-limiting beliefs, and choosing to believe you deserve love and happiness.
And this idea of worthiness, finding your place, it resonates with all the characters.
Yeah.
Like they're all searching for belonging, for a purpose beyond just surviving the war.
It's that human need for meaning, connection, something that gives our lives purpose, especially after trauma like war,
Yeah.
and reminds us that even in chaos and uncertainty, there's potential for growth, for transformation, for finding our way back to the light.
It's a really powerful message, and it makes me wonder, what will happen to these characters? Will they find the peace and healing they so desperately crave?
Well, that's the beauty of Muss's storytelling.
Yeah.
She doesn't give easy answers or fairy tale endings. She gives us something realistic, even messy sometimes. The journey continues, and we want to see what's next for them. What challenges and triumphs await? You know, when we were talking about finding your place,
Yeah.
it makes you really think about the relationships,
Right.
especially Rise and Fair. Their bond is so strong,
Yeah, it's electric, passionate.
but there's still that tension there.
Yeah, like they're figuring out how to be partners, not just lovers, but as leaders. Fair's finding her footing as High Lady,
Yeah,
and Ryzen's learning to trust her,
right.
to let go of some of that control.
And then there's the shadow of Tamlin.
Ugh, yeah.
Ryzen being so possessive, well, it makes sense given Fair's past. But it definitely complicates things.
Yeah.
It reminds us that trauma can stick around,
Yeah.
even in loving relationships.
It's that balance, right? Wanting to protect the person you love, but also giving them space to heal.
Exactly.
And this theme of past wounds impacting the present.
Yeah.
We see it with Moreau, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Her family, her dad, it weighs on her.
You can tell she keeps everyone at a distance.
Yeah.
All those walls around her heart.
Yeah.
Makes it hard to
Yeah.
really connect with anyone, especially men.
It's heartbreaking, but also so relatable.
For sure.
And then there's Amren, ancient, powerful.
Right.
You'd think she'd be above these messy emotions.
Yeah.
But she shows that vulnerability with Nesta.
It is unexpected to see her connect with someone like Nesta.
Right,
Maybe Airman sees a kindred spirit,
right.
someone who gets the burden of power,
Yeah.
the struggle to deal with a tough past.
It'll be interesting to see how their dynamic plays out.
Totally.
Speaking of interesting dynamics,
Hmm.
Cassian and Nesta.
Ooh, yeah.
Fire and ice.
Literally.
Constantly clashing.
There's something there.
Totally.
That enemies to lovers energy.
Right.
Cassian is so drawn to Nesta's fire,
Yeah.
to that spirit that hides her vulnerability.
And Nesta's intrigued, even if she tries to fight it.
Oh, she totally is.
Cassian challenges her.
Pushes her.
Yeah.
Those training sessions, it's like a metaphor for their whole relationship.
Right, all that resistance. But then those walls start to crumble.
It's in those vulnerable moments that they really see each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's a reminder that healing can come from the most unexpected places.
And even if they're getting closer, there's a lot to unpack there.
So much baggage.
It brings us back to that idea that runs through the whole book.
Oh, yeah.
The past always lingers.
It's like those invisible scars.
It's there in Fair's panic attacks. She's right back in that spring court prison.
It's tough.
All that fear and helplessness.
It's a reminder that healing isn't a straight line.
Right.
There are going to be setbacks. Those moments where the past comes rushing back.
It shows how important patience is.
And self-compassion, understanding.
And having people you can rely on.
A good support system.
Which is why what Fair's doing with art is so important.
Yeah.
It's not just a hobby. It's an outlet.
It lets her express those emotions she can't put into words.
And her vision for the art school? It takes that and gives it to the whole community.
It could be amazing.
Art becomes this shared language, a way to connect,
To heal.
to rebuild.
And it's not just painting or sculpting either. Think about Elaine in her garden.
Oh, yeah.
That connection to nature, nurturing life. That's healing too.
It's like she finds peace in that natural world, the way things grow and change.
Yeah.
That reminder that spring always comes back.
Even after the worst winter.
A symbol of hope, resilience, the power of life.
And then there's the weaver.
Herenia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that tapestry.
So intricate.
Darkness and light woven together.
It's beautiful, but it's like a metaphor, isn't it?
It is, for the way life is. Joy and sorrow, hope and despair, all mixed up.
A reminder that even when things are bad, there's still light.
A thread of hope running through it all.
The power of art to make something beautiful out of pain.
And as we talk about this healing, this resilience,
Yeah.
we can't forget about that tension with the Illyrians.
It's like a storm brewing.
Threatening everything they fought for.
Their anger at rise.
That resistance to anything new.
It shows how deep war's wounds go.
And that peace is fragile.
Yeah.
It takes constant work. You can't let your guard down.
It makes you realize this fight for a better future. It's
Yeah.
not just on battlefields.
No, it's so much more than that.
It's within each of us, in our choices,
The ways we heal,
how we grow.
creating a world that's fair, where everyone matters.
It's about realizing that what we do as individuals matters.
It affects everyone.
Our choices have a ripple effect.
Exactly. And even when things seem impossible, we can still make a difference.
We have the power to make things better.
A more compassionate world.
And I keep thinking, what choices will these characters make?
Yeah.
Will they let the past control them? Or rise to the challenge?
Build something better.
Full of hope for the future.
That's what keeps us hooked.
Totally.
Wanting to see how Maz unfolds it all.
Okay, so we've talked about all these individual struggles, the relationships, the tension brewing in places like the Illyrian camps. But I'm curious, like zooming out a little bit, what does A Court of Frost and Starlight tell us about the impact of war?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Like Maz goes beyond just the physical rebuilding. She shows how war really scars people. Those wounds you can't see.
Yeah, those that stick around after the fighting's done.
Exactly. Think about Fair and her panic attacks.
Right.
Or Nesta and how she's just like spiraling. Even Arania, the weaver, she carries that sadness for her husband.
It's like this fracture that goes through everything.
Yeah.
Like those communities, think about the Illyrians, all that resentment makes it hard to move forward together.
Absolutely. It's like they're clinging to the past because the future's too scary.
Too uncertain.
Yeah. And what I appreciate is that Maz doesn't try to wrap it up in a neat bow.
No, she does.
She gets that healing. Whether it's one person or a whole society, it's messy.
Complicated.
There's no quick fix for trauma.
Or to rebuild trust.
It takes time. And being willing to face Some hard truths.
Like Rysand trying to balance his love for fair with, being High Lord.
Yeah, exactly. Or Cassian, trying to change those Illyrian traditions.
It's hard.
Change is never easy. But I think A Court of Frost and Starlight does have hope in it.
Yeah.
It suggests that even after everything they've been through, there's room to grow, to
Yep.
change. Fair, building that art school,
Right.
that's a powerful image of renewal.
And Cassian trying to give the Illyrian women more of a voice.
Totally. Maybe it won't happen overnight, but it's a start.
Little acts of defiance can have a big impact.
Absolutely. And Arania, with that incredible tapestry,
The void cloth.
it's like she took her grief and made it into something beautiful.
Proof that we can create even in the darkest times.
Find meaning through art. It reminds us how strong people can be, even when facing tragedy.
Yeah. But even with all this progress, the book doesn't pretend it's easy.
Right.
The human queens are still out there. The Illyrian situation could explode. Peace is fragile.
It takes constant work to protect it. It makes you think that battle for a better future, it's not just about fighting,
It's about what we do every day.
the choices we make,
Mhm.
how we heal and grow, building a world that's fair to everyone.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, there are a few things to think about.
Okay.
What did you learn about how war impacts people? How do we heal and rebuild? What role can art have in all of that?
They're big questions.
They make us consider how connected we all are and the impact we have on each other.
The choices we make matter.
And as always, keep exploring these themes.
Find your own answers.
Engage with the characters, with their world.
Keep learning, keep growing.
Because understanding, just like healing, takes time and curiosity, and a willingness to dive into the depths of what it means to be human.
And remember, even in the darkest times, there's always that potential for growth, for change, for creating something beautiful out of the ashes.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.